All right, all right, all right. Welcome in on the clock, NFL Draft Show. This is episode number 24. We are almost a quarter of the way to the century mark, man. So we're so close to making it. This evening, I am joined by the mayor of college football, Mr. Nino Brown at Nino Brown underscore T2T on the Twitter. Nino was cooking.
It's gonna be a good one, my man. We don't always get to do shows, just me and you, right? So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a special one. We're
Yeah.
reminiscing, right? Showing our
Yes.
age a little bit on this
Uh-huh.
one, huh?
TROY. That's we should title that. This episode should be titled that.
Yeah,
Man, because we're always communicating, so
yeah.
we don't always just get to have fun and running a network is it's a business. Like
It's
it's
business.
we got like 18. There's a lot going on,
Yeah,
but it's nice to cut loose. And you said reminisce and. We kind of I don't know if we were talking on air last week or off air, but I know KT released that Warwick Dunn
yes.
over on CFB Nation that kind of got us talking, and I think this one's gonna be a fun one.
Oh, absolutely. I got to reminisce and dive into my BC Eagles a little bit. It was good. We did a little bit in the green room, and it sparked a little convo I think we're gonna bring up again. But yeah, it just when I dove in thinking about guys, and I started thinking, I'm like, oh man, I remember this guy, and I remember this guy that year. And then I saw one of my guys that I brought up was in the Heisman voting and happened to be around the same time as Johnny Manziel. And I started thinking about Johnny football. So I think this is going to be a special one.
Man, this room is peppered with like players that didn't make it. like oh, these helmets behind me, man. Like I have a Johnny Manziel signed Sports Illustrated from his his freshman year at Texas A&M. Like I got, I don't want to talk too much about the guys that I'm going to be talking about. So if we didn't mention it today, what we're doing is we're taking a look back on some of our favorite prospects from the last decade. We're football guys. Obviously, I'm sure we got guys outside the last decade, and they might come up, but we tried to keep it within the last decade. And I've kind of been, just a peek behind the curtain for what I've been doing before I started with T2T. Before I started, I was with, I did my own thing, Trifocal Football. And then before that, I was with Dynasty Football Factory and Dynasty Warzone. And then before that, for my own sake, just because I'm a lunatic, I love the NFL draft. You know that. Like
Yeah.
I love the season of optimism and hope, and I love the process of trying to find guys that maybe other people aren't on yet, or trying to jump on the train before somebody else does. It's almost like the collector in me, like trying to collect the names and stuff like that. So I listening to people. I started out watching highlights of players, and then I would rank players that way. And then I was like, man, then I found out you could find game film. And I just started with Google Docs, and I started, and that's how I got introduced to Shane Hallam. And Shane started helping me. Like he would send me a list of players to know for next year. And so I have lists of players dating, probably back 5 or 6 years that I was able to dive in because it was in my Google Docs. So why don't you tell everybody kind of how, your scouting process or, your fandom for these players before we touch on these players?
So I'm old, okay? And I've been playing fantasy football, and me and John Lobb talked about this once before. I did fantasy football and stuff when you had to get the newspaper to get the final
Stop.
stats. I'm facts,
Stop.
dude. I'm telling you, like Yahoo. I swear to you on everything. I'm 42. Yeah, go back 20 something years, bro. Like the internet wasn't as popping as it is right now. You had to literally.
When you did this,
Yeah.
was there like a designated guy in the league who did it that everybody trusted, or did you
Yeah.
all?
So if you were the commissioner, like you had to be the guy that everybody trusts because now you hold the money. There was no draft boards to go and get, and you know what I mean? Like it was a pain in the neck, dude. So if you were the commissioner, everybody trusted you were the guy that had to like your Sunday didn't end like at 10 o'clock when every game was over. Your Sunday ended at like 1 because come Monday when people are ready to go, oh, who won? What's this and that? Oh, who's in the lead for Monday Night Football? Well, guess what? You were the guy that had to do it. So that's where I kind of started like really getting to know a lot more players than I would have. You know what I'm saying? Because you have no choice but to read a box. Go, who's this guy? Where's this guy? Oh, what did he? Oh, he did what? Three for 47. 6 for 98. Who did he come from? What? Oh, he went to this school. He went to Colorado. He went to Texas Tech. So that was how I really kind of got into it. Then, like, I started to watch college football. The guys that I like I said, like I was Deion was my guy in like Florida State the program. Then Ed Reed and Willis McGahee is my favorite running back of all time. So like the that's how the process started for me. Unfortunately, now I got linked up with you and Boomer and KT, and you guys have unleashed a side of me that, like I say, once in a while, I feel like I get to unlock the left side of my brain, and I go down these stupid rabbit holes, and knowledge just kind of just fills my brain about stuff that I don't probably need to know about football, but this is where I end up.
But
And
that's what your wife would say. That's what my wife says at
yeah,
least.
that's what
Like,
she tells me.
I can remember that, but I can't remember to get oats from the grocery store
Yeah,
today.
my boy that I work with, my boy Rob, he tells me, he goes, I don't even understand how you can like. So someone will ask me a question, and I'll be like, oh yeah, like in '09 he went for 79 receptions for 1,100 yards, 20 touchdowns. He's like, dude, how? I can't remember I have a breakfast last week. Dude. How do you? I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes it's things stick. I guess
Right.
it is.
Well, you're a football guy. You're a lunatic just like me. And if you're listening, I say this every week. If you're listening to an NFL draft show in July, chances are you're just like us as well. So we appreciate you. If you're new to the show, if you found us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, possibly Threads, I think that's what it's called. Subscribe, like, comment, hit the bell. We have content all week, every week. We got team specific content.
Yes.
We got Dynasty. We got fantasy. We got IDP. We got gambling. Anything you're looking for, we got. So there's no need to go anywhere else except if you're looking for college football stuff. If you're looking for college football stuff, where are they going, Nino?
They're going to CFP Nation, which is part of the T2T network. So you just stay locked into the T2T network. Click that bell. CFP Nation, click that bell. You get everything you need. You get football 24/7. There's every single day. There is something either on the Twitter, the YouTube, from both sides of the mothership. Okay. And we're giving you information all around the spectrum. So just stay locked in and hit the bell, and you don't have to go nowhere else.
Man, and I promise you, like, if you like what we're doing, then you're definitely gonna like where we're heading because we aren't comfortable. Like
No.
we're just not built that way. So we're constantly, we're looking to improve. We're looking to add people to the roster. So if you love this stuff and you've always wanted to get into it, reach out to me on Twitter at Coach Sheps. You can reach out to Nino at Nino Brown _T2T or the Twitter handle at Toilets Titles. Link up with us because we're always just more better. Dino said it, man, to the moon. So I love it. All right. So shout out to Boomer, who's not here this evening, at Jared Gray. Shout out to KT. Man, we're popping bottles for KT. He got engaged, man. I was going to tell, I can't wait for, if they have a big wedding. Me and my wife got married in the beach, so no one ended up coming. Like, we had a party, you know what I mean? But we just randomly, let's do it. But KT has a party. I'm driving. You're coming down. You're picking me up on the way.
We'll make the swoop. We got you.
Yeah, hell yeah.
We'll get the caravan. I got the the Pacifica. We'll pop the seats up, throw everybody in there.
Hell yeah. Yeah, bring a little cooler, get some Celsius in there. Shout out to Celsius. If you want to sponsor us, go ahead. That'd be super cool. We're close. We're like, Anchor reached out to me. They're like, hey, you can be monetized now. YouTube reached out to me. So it's the right time for everything. All right. So Celsius, you can jump on the train now, man, before,
Dr. Sasquatch.
Yeah. Oh, Squatch, man. Yeah, dude. I love that stuff. Yeah, I go through those bars
they're great. Good stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. And we aren't sponsored by them. So we're just being honest. All right. Let's talk about some NFL draft prospects from the past decade we really enjoyed. Do we want to start with KT's, just get them out of the way? Or you want to start talking about some of your guys?
Well, we can sprinkle them in.
Okay.
Sprinkle him in throughout the. I know, he's not here, but we can sprinkle him in. I'm gonna go with a miss. All right.
Okay.
But man, I really thought he was gonna be something. I know this is a very difficult comp, but he was like Saquon before Saquon to me. Okay. Bishop Sankey was a dude coming out of college at Washington. All right. I say it's a swing and a miss. But man, he was electric. I see him take a 4th and 1 against the number 2 Oregon Ducks for 55 yards and a touchdown, like it was a blink of an eye. Hit the pack. There's 3 guys, went left, gone. See you later. All right. He was a 2-year starter at Washington out of the 3 years he was there. 2012, he had close to 1,500 yards, 16 touchdowns. And at that time, he was a pass catching back. He had 32 receptions. In 2013, he had 327 attempts for 1,870 yards and 20 touchdowns. And he still had almost 30 receptions for 300 yards. And coming into Washington, he had rattled off 2,500 yards as a senior in high school. This is what this dude did. He was electric. 37 collegiate touchdowns. He had a stupid jump step at the time where a jump step really wasn't anything. And it was kind of like delayed. He could boop, boop, and then go. And he was elusive as hell. Open field monster. 3,300 yards in 2 seasons for Washington is just crazy, right? Drafted in the second round, 54th overall at Tennessee. My guy was doomed, coach, from the jump. All right. I say this all the time. You don't get a top 10 pick if you're good. You just don't. Unless it happens to be by trade. But you just don't normally get a good pick like that if you're good. He walked into a team, right? Sean Green was the other running back. McCluster was a receiving back for Tennessee. Dexter McCluster. That was the other back. The QB department was gross. Charlie Whitehurst, right? A young Jake Locker.
That's another Washington guy, right?
Yep. A young Jake Locker. And they had the QB whisperer before he was the QB whisperer, Jordan Palmer. Okay? Like, this is when he was still trying to play football. He had no business. Like, that team was just terrible. I think it was just bad landing spot. He never eclipsed more than 500 yards in the 2 seasons he was with Tennessee. Got an ACL injury, right? Went to New England, went to Minnesota. I believe he might even went to the Saints. It was another team. It was a third team. Went to. It never panned out. Went to the CFL. Ended up retiring after COVID. Doesn't play football anymore. Man, those 2 years at Washington Pac-12, he was an anomaly. He literally, just could do anything he wanted. He was so shifty, and he could get to the outside. And once he was to the outside in the open field, good luck trying to catch him. He was a bowling ball. I love Sankey, but it just didn't work.
Man, so I think I started, I want to say in Twitter, around the time Bishop Sankey was becoming draft eligible. And that's when I started to get kind of into the Dynasty fantasy football community, because before that, I never played Dynasty. I'd only played Redraft. And Bishop Sankey is the first player I remember the whole community was in on.
Dude.
He was that was the year of Bishop Sankey. And that's going to lead me to one of my misses, because this is a guy too, like, there's a few people I follow on Twitter that are college guys. Like I try to I pick and choose some people to follow because I know they're going to show highlights, or I've seen them bring up a player in the past that's panned out, and that's noted. So now I kind of I put what they say in a little more weight, and I wish I could give a shout out to this guy, but I can't even think. But I remember seeing some clips of Laviska Shenault as a freshman in Colorado. And then going into his sophomore year, I was like, all right, like, I'm excited to see this cat play. His film, dude built like the Predator. Yeah. Like built like dreadlocks, muscle. Dude, he's going to basketball games in Denver with Von Miller. Like hanging out with Von Miller at Denver Nuggets games as like a junior at Colorado. And this is before Dion. Like this is before Colorado was cool, And then shout out to Kella Weatherspoon, because I was a big fan of Kella Weatherspoon as well. And I think who's the Cowboys defensive back? Awuzie. Say they had some good corners come out of Colorado. But man, Laviska Shenault, huge numbers. So here's my analysis for him going into 2019. So in full disclosure, I had him as my wide receiver 5 for the 2020 class. I had him ahead of Brandon Ayuk and Michael Pittman. So, I was super high on him. So here's my analysis. Laviska is everything everybody thought Cordero Patterson would be when he came out of Tennessee. He lines up everywhere in the offense, outside slot, running back, and even played quarterback in the Wildcat. He jumps off the screen when he has the ball in his hands. He's not a guy who's going to consistently create loads of separation, but due to his physicality makeup and his ball track and high point ability, he doesn't need to. He'll benefit by playing with a more accurate quarterback at the next level who can take advantage of his skill set and throw him open. Shenault will be a volume guy wherever he lands and should receive a solid chunk of the offense's touches. So Jacksonville, man, they didn't work out. Now he's in Tennessee, I believe, right? Like he moved on. So I don't know.
He's in Carolina. He's in
Carolina. Yeah. I got the Blues confused.
Yeah, but I think Cordell Patterson heard you when you wrote that. That's what everything you just said. He does, and he's been doing it since. Right. It's crazy.
And not for nothing, I like Cordero. So he came from JUCO. Right. He had 1 year at Tennessee, kick returns, like he was
Electric.
dude. And then he went to Atlanta. Or no, where did he get drafted?
No, he didn't go to Atlanta off the rip, right?
I can't. I don't. Oh, see, was it Seattle? Man, wherever he went, he didn't do nothing because we don't. We barely remember it. But then he started getting it right. And Laviska Shenault, similar situation. Maybe he goes to Carolina. Okay. I remember he had spurts, like he had a kickoff return touchdown, or but not consistently using the offense like he was in Atlanta. Like now he's a player,
Yeah.
But Shenault goes to Carolina. Maybe I got a Shenault jersey. I got a signed Colorado helmet. Like I was all in on this guy.
A guy that I wasn't in on, but you said Shenault, and I just want to bring it up. I'm hearing because people if you're watching the draft, think this guy you probably were into at the time. We could see the emergence of Terrace Marshall.
Yeah.
I'm hearing Terrace Marshall is balling out. I'm hearing that he's much faster. He's caught on to the system. Maybe it was the coaching staff there didn't work out well with him on the QB carousel. But if you were a Terrace Marshall guy, the hope is still there. This could be his year. You got to think about it. That room, I like Adam Thielen for a year or two. But that wide receiver room is young and inexperienced. Right. So
they got
Mingo
from So, but it's young, it's inexperienced, but it has a veteran. But Terrace Marshall, you can say what I said. Excuse me. About tracking guys in social media who have a high hit rate. You could say that's lazy analysis,
right?
Because maybe I'm putting too many eggs in that basket or whatever. So, but on the other hand, I'm going to say the Terrace Marshall hype was lazy analysis, because it was look who came out prior to him, and I bought into it at times, but I also let go of it, right away. It's Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. So they saw the helmet and they scouted the helmet. They didn't scout the player. And I think that was responsible for a lot of the Terrace Marshall hype.
I'm with you. I think that's, unfortunately, for the short amount of time I've been in this community, people get exposed often because you can tell they're scouting the helmet.
Right. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it works. It's gonna I'm gonna just jump in right into another. Talk about scouting helmet. Like Desmond King, DB out of Iowa. I love this cat. So you're a DB guy. I was listening to Head to Head. Shout out to the Head to Head crew, because that's the IDP show, usually Tuesday nights. And you were talking about Bobby McCain. Check out that short on the YouTube channel. You're saying you know how to scout DBs. I love DBs with flexibility. You've seen it. I love Dax Hill last year. I love Malachi Moore coming out next year. So I like guys who can move all around the football field. And Desmond King, so scouting the helmet, Iowa, tough, gritty. There was another DB who came out. Well, obviously, we got Moss, who came out of there. Yeah. And but before that, I can't think. There was another corner around there. I think might have went to the New York Jets, but I'm having a brain fart. But anyway, tough, gritty players, right? Desmond King, 2015 consensus All-American, 2015 Jim Thorpe Award winner. He led the Big Ten in interceptions with 8 in 2015. In 2016, he was number 2 in the Big Ten with kick return yards. So you may say, why are you throwing that out there? The dude led the league in interceptions one year, led the league in kick return yards another year, and then all time in the Big Ten, he's number 3 in passes defended with 33. So a little bit, I saw the Iowa, I saw the gritty, I saw the production, I saw the versatility, okay? And then experience. The dude started as a freshman at Iowa. They're playing regardless, it's not the SEC, but you're playing dudes who are eating nails for breakfast when you're at Iowa. And probably a lot of it's at training camp. You're probably seeing people eat nails for breakfast, but goes to the combine, comes in 5'9", runs a 4.6 40. Teams, they're looking over the Jim Thorpe Award. They're looking over the fact he's a consensus All-American. They're looking over the production. and I get it. He falls to the 5th round. And then every round that he fell, I was like, Dallas, just take him. Just take him. Just take him. Dude, 2018 All-Pro. He's been on, 3-4 teams? So the teams aren't falling in love with the guy. But wherever he goes, he's producing. He has 426 tackles, 106 solo, 8.5 sacks, 9 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. Not too bad.
No, not too bad at all. But What's Boomer saying? Boomer saying somebody tried to join, but the link's not working. Of course it's working. Just click on it, my friend. But I think the interception total being so low, and after that first year, he kind of like declined. He don't really play special teams in the NFL, right?
Well, he has. I want to say he has a few. Well, 4-6. They probably have somebody who can. I don't know off the top of my head, but I mean, he's kind of a jack of all trades, which is he's a 5th round pick. He's not being paid like an elite player, but you could he's consistent, he's productive, and he's not going to be your star, but he's a guy who's going to like that's the type of player you have on championship rosters. A guy like, I mean, you've seen with the New England Patriots, like they got guys in the secondary, like they usually have an alpha, and then they like McCourty. I love McCourty, but I think he played above and beyond his skill set.
I agree. I think the thing there was they knew when to transfer him to the deep sector, right? Get him out of being. He played more at the cornerback position because they were in dire need when they had him. He had to play. Like look at Troy Brown. He went wide receiver to DB.
I mean, he didn't huff and puff. He owned that. Yeah.
But I think that point was why. And then once they had the opportunity to move him to where he would excel more, they put him in safety, and he just ate. He had longevity and was a general in that secondary for a good 8 years.
Think about Chung. You saw Chung, but you saw him leave.
Yeah.
And wherever he went, he wasn't. Then he came back, and then he was that dude again. Like this is like the type of guy I think King is the type. Like I want him in my secondary. Put him in my secondary. So go ahead. You're up.
All right, I'm gonna go with a guy out of LSU, since we were talking about LSU. This gives me the winner chicken dinner, even though my guy Boomer tells me he's terrible. That's Deion Jones, right? 6'1", 227 pounds. He was labeled a tackle machine. I get it. His first 2 seasons, he couldn't have clipped more than 25 tackles. I understand. But that final season, he went off for 100 tackles, okay? 57 solo, 13 and a half tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 3 pass breakups, a forced fumble, and a pick to the house against Florida that made him look stupid. All right? Like, LSU and Deion Jones that season were dumb. We all know that that LSU pumps out linebackers and edge guys. Edge guys don't normally pan out, but the linebackers tend to pan out in the NFL. They tend to do well. Now, Boom will tell me that he doesn't do well. I don't want to hear about it because at the next level, after he was drafted in the 2nd round, right, 52nd overall in Atlanta, he's got in 7 years, he almost has 700 tackles, 453 solo, 46 tackles for loss. All right, he had 108, 138, 110, 106, and 137 tackles. That's 5 out of the 7 years he's had 100 tackles or more. 2 of them had 130. And the only reason why he had 2 bad seasons is because he got hurt. Dude, Deion Jones is a dude. He's a linebacker. He is a dog, LB1. Give him the mic. Injuries, yes, that is a concern. But when he is healthy, he is an animal at linebacker.
Speak of the devil. But before he comes in, Deion Jones, right? He's been around since what? 2015, he's kind of helped revolutionize that position. And shout out to Boomer popping in right now, my guy at Jared Gray on the Twitter, but he helped revolutionize that position. And also he helped put the Atlanta Falcons back on the map. I know that offense, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, they were kind of coming up to the end of their career, but Keanu Neal and Deion Jones, they were everywhere. You watch Ted Lasso, Roy Kent, Deion Jones had a little bit of that in him, and he gets it done. But Jared, how we doing this evening, my guy?
I'm good. It's been a long day, but I'm here.
He's here. This evening we are talking about our favorite draft prospects. I'm going to kind of push it forward to one that KT has. And the reason I'm going to bring him up is because I was down in Gainesville in 2005, 2006, and 2007, and I think Joe Hayden kind of came in towards the end of that. Joe Hayden coming out of Florida, it was kind of a decade of dominance and a decade of special players. Like, we talked about Percy Harvin the other day. Percy Harvin was just absolutely special, like elite, dynamic, and almost like above and beyond what a coach could game plan for. You know, like it's a job game planning for a guy who's that talented, figuring out. Like you look, I'm not saying Isaiah Simmons is, and I'm bouncing around, but I'm not saying he's Percy Harvin. But when you have a guy who's an elite athlete, who's dynamic, who's capable of multiple things, sometimes coaches they can't, they don't know what to do. So Percy Harvin was that good. Joe Hayden was another elite talent. I'm not saying he wasn't the dynamic of Percy Harvin, but he was an elite shutdown corner, sticky. And I'm going to just read off some of KT's notes. I knew Joe Hayden when he would be a dog for two reasons. One, I seen him play in high school at Friendly in Fort Washington, Maryland, and he actually played quarterback and was a damn good one. And two, his dad had he and his brothers in the gym at a very young age, following him to Florida and seeing how physical he was, and even as a true freshman in 2007, to then get national recognition in 2008 with 87 total tackles, 3 interceptions, and being a lockdown quarter in 2009. I knew Joe Hayden would have success at the NFL level, and I'm sure he saw a lot of decent competition. Like the Gators back then, outside of Percy Harvin, they had dudes who could fly. I mean, I don't know if you remember Jeff Demps, Chris Rainey. Like these are guys that weren't going to the NFL. They were too small. But Coach, like you blinked, you missed him. Go ahead.
I did a piece on this on CFB Prime, bro. Urban Meyer built that team when he came over, right, from Utah. He built that team on literally speed. There was like 9 or 10 guys that ran sub 4.4s. Like everybody on that squad, and all they did was go fast and get the playmaker the ball. Like nobody had to be elite the QB position. The line up front, the Pouncey twins, like you just protect. Right? Protect that guy. Keep him upright. And these guys, nobody can cover them on the field. They're too fast. They will get open if you just give them a couple seconds. And that's what they did. They went off.
I remember like at one of the pep rallies, they let some student athletes come on the field and race the players. And like I guess you had to go through some sort of heats to prove you're worthy enough to be on the field. And I just remember watching Demps and Rainey just like give these dudes were moving, these like the people who made it there. And Demps and Rainey, like they were giving them like a 2 or 3 second head start. And that was track speed. Like these were guys who were track athletes. And Meyer was like, come play football for me. But Boomer, you got any thoughts on Joe Hayden?
Honestly, I think it's one of the more elite corners that we've seen in a long time. You know, even when he was on his downfall at Pittsburgh, people still don't want to throw against him.
No.
I mean, he was a dude. I mean, to the end. I mean, the fact that he was at Cleveland and then they let him go, and I understand that they felt good about who they were bringing in. The next 2 years, he balled out. You know, I can't, as a Joe Hayden fan, because I'm a legit Joe Hayden fan, I don't know how you ever let him leave your team.
Who's the Oklahoma State kid they drafted at corner?
Green. AJ Green.
No, like years ago.
Yeah, AJ Green.
That was his name?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing as the receiver, exact same way.
He was supposed to be like
he's a dude. He was a dude in college. He just
lockdown in college.
Then he came to the NFL and just
he had 1 year, decent year. Like
it's kind of like the kid from LSU that kept on having his wrist injured, right? And real skinny kid. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he just couldn't get on the field because he just kept getting injured. But
right. Is Greedy?
He's really talented at LSU.
Is it Greedy?
Yeah, Williams.
Greedy Williams.
Yeah, but he's came on like the last 2 seasons, right? Like Greedy.
Now he transferred, right? Went to a different team, and he had a decent year last year.
Yeah.
Not to go down a rabbit hole for LSU DBs. The Giants got one like 2 years ago. I can't think of his name. The Giants. So Joe knows if you're in here, dude. The Giants got a kid who's like 2nd or 3rd in their depth chart from LSU. Who he was the opposite of Stingley. So Stingley was there.
Yeah, but did he benefit from Stingley? That's my question.
No, like they targeted him.
Okay.
And he's still like, and he played well and kind of, I think the Giants got
Adoree Jackson?
No. Adoree Jackson? No, Adoree Jackson's older. Yeah, he's quite a bit older.
No.
Adoree's been at
Trey Hawkins?
No. Adoree Jackson went to USC, by the way.
Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah, that's right. Who else would you say?
He's LSU. Giants? Yeah, it's the Giants, man. I'll look it up. But, why don't you go ahead and why don't you get us with one of your next? Because this is riveting radio right now. We're looking for this guy's name.
Riveting radio. All right, I got you. My next guy, you guys are going to laugh at him. I'm going to go. Now, I'm not going to go that guy. I'm going to go to a hometown boy, Quadzilla. I'm going to go A.J. Dillon, running back out of Boston College. Right, he was 6 foot 246. I mean, It's a middle linebacker. Put him in the middle and let this guy knock people out. He had 845 carries, 4,300 yards, 38 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns his senior season for BC. I mean, this dude, 3 straight years of just 1,200 or more yards, led the ACC in rushing attempts for 2 seasons. He's 5th all time in the ACC in career rush yards. He was a legitimate bowling ball. His yak was through the roof, right? 2nd round pick, 62nd overall in 2020 draft to the Green Bay Packers, which I hated because I knew what he was going into and I know how Green Bay is, and he's still in the same role, a split role with Aaron Jones because Green Bay can't make up their mind who they want more. But his second season, he had 700 yards. Last year, he had 800 yards. So there's a little increase as Aaron Jones just kind of caught the injury bug a little bit. I think Green Bay needs to release the beast in A.J. Dillon. The thing that he does well, that he's only gotten better at, is his receptions. He's got 62 receptions last 2 seasons with Green Bay. And he had 33 his final 2 seasons with Boston College. So he does catch the ball. But dude, let this guy run. Let him run. Let him be the RB1. Let him be the alpha for Green Bay. Especially now with Jordan Love. Like, let's go. It's time to just pass the torch to the whole new generation in Green Bay.
Not that, like, so I don't want to tackle any NFL running back in Lambeau in December when it's 10 degrees out. But if I had to choose between Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, who's going to be coming downhill at me 10 degrees in Lambeau Field,
Yeah,
I'd probably choose Jones. Like, A.J. Dillon is built for playoff football. It's cold, control the football. Like, he, and then you got a young quarterback who could benefit from that for sure. So I'm with you. But boom, what are your thoughts on that, Cat?
I loved A.J. Dillon. I mean, like you said, he was around the same time as Landry was when he was at Boston College too, right? I mean,
yep.
Those dudes standing next to each other on the sideline were like bouncers at the club you didn't enter, right? They're just monsters. And I just feel like I'm with you because of the passing attack and type of offense they've ran. He really hasn't got the shine because when he does, he goes for 32 for 132, and here we are, and he's a dude. I mean, and he's a good person. That's even more awesome. I mean, when they tried to escort him off the field at Green Bay because he was on the field like for whatever, and some security guy's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "Bro, do you know who I am?" Mind blown. It was. I don't remember what it was for, but it was pretty hilarious.
And I'm almost 100% sure he is an author of a children's book, like a children's comic book. I'm it's like a illustrated book for kids. I'm almost 100% sure.
There's a chance some of us might be heading up to Chicago for a Packers-Bears game because I know Prue's a Bears fan. Nino's a Packer. I'm not Nino. Nate's a Packers fan. I'm getting my ends mixed up. Maybe I'll get this comic book if I head up there. Maybe I'll try to get it signed in person by AJ Dillon. Who knows? Probably I'll have to throw it down in the field. But that DB is Cordell Flott.
Okay.
The DB for LSU. I like him, man. Like, if he's playing in the slot for the Giants, that's where they have him on the depth chart. I think their defensive backfield might be like you mentioned McKinney or
McCain.
McCain. I got McCain.
And Adoree Jackson.
So you were talking about McCain earlier. McKinney's a dude. They got Adoree, Deontay Banks.
Yep. They got a solid secondary.
Bro, but that division is just going to be, you got the Eagles set the bar, and it's going to be tough to keep up with.
I didn't give you my list, and I feel bad for that. We're talking about last 10 years, but there's my favorite story in college football, and maybe ever, is James Conner. In his sophomore season, 1,700 yards rushing, absolutely monster year, gets Hodgkin's lymphoma, out for the entire junior season, comes back his senior season, runs for 1,000 yards. It feels like Pittsburgh always has somebody, they're running back. Honestly, they've got to be top 4 running back in my honest opinion.
Right.
And they just have another dude every single year that balls out. And
shout out to Izzy Abonaconda.
Then LaShawn McCoy and
right. Dorsett, right?
Dorsett. Yeah. We can go for days. Deion Lewis. Just it's crazy how many times they always have another guy. But James Conner's my favorite story, arguably in college football, to a guy that gets Hodgkin's lymphoma, comes back and balls out. He's Eric Berry did it as a pro. Foster Moreau
Yeah,
just did
man.
it, and it's really cool to see a guy who had 1,700 yards rushing in his junior year, gets Hodgkin's lymphoma, doesn't play but for like one snap or whatever, and then comes back his senior year, balls out, gets drafted, ends up being a stud for Pittsburgh, has been a stud for Arizona the last 2 years. I love his story. It's one of my favorite stories in the history of college football. So
it drives me nuts. Recency bias. Like recency bias drives me nuts. People forget how good James Conner was. And then he came back a year, not even a year removed from and at the combine, his numbers were low, but he was probably 12 months from chemotherapy, just played a season. His body's still recovering. James Conner was I compared.
He was still going through chemo during his senior season. So
of course his how do you not put 2 and 2 together and think, yes, this guy's probably not fully healthy. So shout out to him if he gets healthy, this is what it's going to be. Right. I comped him to Zach Charbonnet, and somebody, I don't even know, just some mindless person on Twitter was like, oh, Charbonnet's so much better. I'm like, dude, James,
was a dude.
Charbonnet's really good. Like, he's also really good, but James Conner wasn't and then now look at him in the NFL. Like, look at the Cardinals offense. Everyone knew what they were doing last year, and he still produced. Do I think he might do it again? I don't know, because he scored a lot of touchdowns. It's going to be hard to duplicate that, but the dude.
I mean, but the thing is, it hasn't changed for Conner. That dude he had, what? I have to look at his college stats. He had 52 rushing touchdowns.
Right.
So and Gibbs didn't even play 1 year. Really didn't play a whole lot his freshman year. He had 12 games, but only had 146 attempts his freshman year. Then he goes for almost 300 attempts for 1,765 yards rushing his sophomore year.
He just can't stay healthy, though. He hasn't played a full season ever.
James Conner?
In the NFL, never played 16 games.
What did he do 2 years ago?
Got hurt. He's been hurt every single year in the NFL.
Well, he didn't have to play a ton. 2018, 2019, he was splitting carries, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he got hurt that year too. I'm saying he's got hurt every year in the NFL. Even last year he got hurt, and the year before in Arizona. That's my only knock to him. It's hard to trust the guy who's always hurt.
Well, it's not about I think with this episode, I think it's more so talking about the talent.
No,
because you can't control.
We can say what we want. The average running back would be long gone at this point. So
how many years he's been in the league? 7?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is year 7.
Right. That's the norm.
The norm is 26.
What?
Well,
average running back is 26 years old.
So you're saying one contract for an average running back?
I think average. That's probably for average. I think that's average, because I think the average is probably the
You're taking every running back in the NFL? Is that what we're talking about? Let's talk about the running backs. Let's talk about RB1s, dude. Let's stop taking guys that are RB3 and 4.
Well, how many RB1s make it past the first contract and produce?
And look at this. How many right now?
Look at Zeke. Zeke first contract, and that's not Todd Gurley.
Dude, he was RB4 in fantasy, not last year, the year before. How was that?
Because he fell into the end zone. You take him?
Wait.
So but now we're talking fantasy. We're not talking talent.
Touchdowns is what James Conner scored. That's what Zeke scored.
I think Zeke, after the first contract, took a huge step back. A huge step. He was not the same back. He hasn't been the same back.
But wasn't Zeke better than James Conner off the rip?
Oh, Zeke.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about. But wait, we're not comparing talent. We're talking.
Okay, so average retirement age in the NFL 28.
Okay, so that's 7 years.
That's 4 years if you really want to talk.
Who's coming in the NFL at 23 years old, bro? Who? Please tell me. Because nobody.
Hendon Hooker.
A lot.
Not a starting running back, homie.
Right.
They're coming at 21.
It's hard for running to make it past the first contract.
Here's what you really want to know. The average running back career is 2.57 years. So less than 3 years.
Bro, you're talking about third and fourth stringers and guys that play in special teams. You're talking about the guys at the bottom. I'm talking about RB1s, bro. We can't even have the same conversation.
No,
I'm just saying.
I think RB1s usually it's tough to make it past the first contract.
That's
We'll look into
but that's 4 years at least.
yeah.
He
4.
said
So
2.5.
usually, well, I'm not saying that. I'm
No,
saying
no.
like I think it's usually one contract, like the rare, especially now. Back in the 90s, you were making past like
Wait,
2.
Derrick Henry's got 2.
But he's
Sneck's
special.
got 2, right? Even
Adrian Peterson, but these are special
Wait,
Hall of Fame running backs.
I'm
Yeah,
saying
but
right now, let's go down the list right
Eckler,
now.
Henry.
Christian McCaffrey's got 2, right?
These are the 3 best backs in the league.
Well, I'm trying to rattle down like in my head how many backs there are. Like
Right.
Mondre Stevenson's going to get a number 2. That's a
Come on.
fact, right? You
But
don't think so?
No, but like we're talking about injury. Like dude's never played a complete season in his career. A complete season.
Who?
Ramondre.
He did last year.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the running back in Miami. Mostert. I heard Ramondre.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
wait. But you can't count on Ramondre.
You got to think Ramondre's only his 3rd year right now.
So 30 in the NFL. You can't count on that already.
So you don't think he's going to get another contract?
I think he's going to get another contract.
I don't think he's
going to be the dude after the contract like he was prior to the contract. Running backs fall off a cliff after the first contract. That's generally by 27.
That's still more than 4 years, bro. 27, you come in at 21. That's 6. It's 7 if you count the 21.
But we're talking, and I'm okay with that, right? But we're talking about a guy, I'm talking about Connor, who came in at 22, 23 years old after Hodgkin's lymphoma and is going into his 8th season in the NFL.
That he hasn't played a full season yet.
So last year, he took touches in every game. I just looked at it.
He touches in every game?
Yeah.
All 17?
I believe so. Let me look. Man, this has become the.
Well, I'm just. Yeah.
It's not you. It's me too. I'm not blaming you. I am completely dived in here. Let's see how many games.
He's played 14, 13, 10, 13, 15, 13.
Never a full season.
But he hasn't had to.
It's not. He doesn't have to. Bro.
The 15 game year, right? He was an all-pro.
He has injury problems.
Thank you. That's it. All I'm saying is that's his problem. He can't stay healthy.
He can't stay healthy. But last year, even though he couldn't stay healthy, I think he still finished top.
He had touchdowns. Saved his numbers.
Like Zeke.
What was his yards? Barely got over
1,000. I'm just saying. I mean, we're talking about prospects. I loved him coming out of college. Just the whole. This was the original conversation.
This was the rabbit hole. This was this episode's rabbit hole. Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk about running back completely opposite.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Oh boy.
So we talked about a feel good story. I'm going to talk about a feel bad story, and that's Darius Geis.
Yeah.
I loved Darius Geis coming at LSU. Because I wasn't a big fan of Leonard Fournette.
Nope.
I thought Leonard Fournette was sloppy. I thought he played when he wanted to.
Yep.
Like, I remember watching his film from when he was in high school, middle school. Like, everyone, and he was a dude. But then when he came to LSU, like, he just looked like he didn't give two S words. Geis reminded me of Marshawn Lynch.
Bang.
Like, Geis looked like he just wanted to run through your face.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he would still get to the end zone. He'd have a clear path, and he'd rather run your ass over and get into the end zone. And that excited me. Like, I love that. Big, physical. 2015, he was 8th in the SEC in kickoff return yards. So, like, explosive. I think he ran a 4.49 in the NFL Combine at 224 pounds. In 2017, he was 3rd in the SEC in yards from scrimmage with 1375. I don't have that list in front of me, which I could find it, but I think I had him as my RB2 that year. So I don't know who all was out, but I had him as my RB2. I took him everywhere I could. And then like all the nonsense came out about stuff he got involved in at LSU. And I think that ultimately led to, what's his name, getting kicked out of there, or leaving rather. Who was the other coach? Ed Orgeron. Ed Orgeron, I think he covered up some stuff with Darius Geis, and I think that's why Ed Orgeron's not there anymore.
Well, yeah, you said he was aggressive in attack mode, but he couldn't dial that back. That was the thing. It wasn't. I know the LSU stuff.
He was aggressive off the field too.
Yeah, that's the thing. He had a domestic thing. As he was in the NFL, that was what set them off over the edge and were like, yeah, screw this guy.
But supposedly there was some stuff at LSU too that
yes, that was what kind of
like suspect, like suspect. Like, what are you doing? Like,
same thing was coming with same guy coming out of LSU this year, and
well,
Boutte.
Yeah,
there was a lot of suspect things going on.
right, but
there.
I don't know. In his instance, it seems like it was. I don't want to go down.
It was a different kind of physical.
That's you know what I mean, like consensual.
Yes.
And you know what?
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
know what? I don't feel right laughing. Given so not on the Boutte side, on the other side. So I'm not overlooking.
No. None of it was. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not. It's just the one side of it is funny. The other side is not funny.
Guys on a football field with the running back was insane. Like
Right.
he was
Agreed.
he was Lattimore out of running back. He wanted, like you said, he wanted
Right.
to be able to look at you as he ran over you and just be like, and kept going. Like
That's the type of dude you want on your team. I want to watch my running back physically impose his will on the defense.
he gave me Natron Mean vibes without being as big as Natron Means. You know what I'm saying? Like those guys just banged and just kept going.
Right. And Fournette, like you would watch both of them, and Fournette would just be like, he run hard, but like you just wouldn't see any expression. And then Geis would be just like, he was just a fist.
Yeah. And the only thing with Fournette too, and the reason why I didn't like, I felt like, and it maybe was because he knew he could do it, but like when he tried to make moves, it was like slow motion. It was like watching Jello, like jiggle. You know what I mean? Like he would like cut a guy and be like,
You remember when he got popped by Reuben Foster?
Oh my God, Reuben Foster, another guy I thought was going to be an absolute god in the NFL.
Yeah, didn't.
Yeah, dude. And then he wore number 10. Like 10 never looked good on a linebacker to me, but when
he made it look great.
Like,
do
you want
to talk about a guy that was chiseled out of concrete? Holy cow!
Hey, my guy wore number 10.
Who's that?
Who's my guy?
Derek Brooks.
Oh, well, I'm not old enough for that. I don't remember that.
Ouch. Ooh, that hurt.
I already said I started the show, Boomer, saying I'm old, and when I did fantasy football, I had to use a newspaper the very first year I did fantasy football to get stats.
Ooh, that hurt.
Yeah. So it's been an old show.
Before we move on, everybody, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/toilets to titles. Get in our gilded chat. We got nonstop NFL, fantasy football, SFB, Frankenstank, all that good stuff. We got the Frankenstank Listener League. We're trying to fill up. Reach out to me. I'm giving half off to the next two people who enter. It's $12.50. It's a lot of fun. And the Patreon just helps us do cool shit. Like we're going to the Combine again this year. We're going to the Senior Bowl. We might go to the Shrine Bowl. We're trying to get everywhere. We're trying to, everything. And you can help us, and we're doing it so we can bring you there. It is. So we can bring you live content. But hey, we are 48 minutes, so I got to steer this thing back in. So why don't you go, Nino, and give me one more of your guys here.
I'll give you a KT quick one, and then I'll give you one of mine. I'm going to give you Sammy Watkins, 2014. And this one hurts my man KT a lot, burns him, because he thought that the Buffalo Bills nailed this one. And if you don't know, the Buffalo Bills are his team. He has a very special place in his heart for the Buffalo Bills. He thought Sammy Watkins was going to be a surefire alpha, loaded wide receiver group that included Odell Beckham, Brandon Cooks, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, Kelvin Benjamin. Another guy didn't really pan out. Jordan Matthews. Another guy didn't really pan out. Jarvis Landry, Latavius Bryant, and a bunch of other receivers that were still in the league. And Sammy's time in Buffalo wasn't bad, but it certainly wasn't anywhere near the caliber of those gentlemen that I aforementioned. So, yeah, Sammy Watkins, I think everybody thought Sammy Watkins was going to be a newer version of Percy Harvin. And it just wasn't in his build. Like he could have been a wide receiver, but he couldn't stay healthy. So he'd give you like 3 games. Like, I remember in Baltimore, he went off back-to-back years. First 3 games went off, and then he got injured, and then they never heard from Sammy Watkins again. Went to Green Bay. He had 2 games with Aaron Rodgers, right, where he went off, and then he got hurt, and then Sammy Watkins just faded off into the sun. He had the talent. Some guys, it just doesn't pan out for him.
He was there with Hopkins.
Yes.
Hopkins was the upperclassman.
Yes.
And everyone was talking about Watkins. Like it was like Maroney and Marion Barber. Like Marion Barber was the older guy in Minnesota, and everybody loved Maroney. And that's how it was with Watkins and Hopkins. Like, we got 2 dudes there. Hopkins is good, but wait till you see this guy. And, then they go to the NFL, and Hopkins just completely. And how about Martavis Bryant?
Yeah.
That dude, if he didn't, he was a phenomenal.
Freak. Yeah. The Steelers somehow, all the way back to, Bryant and probably a couple years before that, have found these receivers. They always find them. and they always find another guy to fill the role right before they got to pay the dude who just balled out for them. It's crazy how they do it, but they always do it. I'll give you a guy. I mentioned him a while back on CFB Nation. I'm going to talk about him because most of the country at this time fell in love with this guy.
Oh, my God.
Manti Te'o,
Yeah.
linebacker out of Notre Dame. All right. I don't know if it's a hit or miss. I go 50-50 with this one, okay? He missed his girl. That's a fact. But at 6'1", 241 pounds, he ended up becoming a second-round draft pick, 38 overall to San Diego Chargers. At Notre Dame, he was an absolute dude with a mystery girlfriend, okay? He had 3 straight seasons of over 115 tackles. He came in second in 2012 in the Heisman Trophy voting to Johnny Football. Nobody was beating Johnny Football. I don't care what Te'o did, okay? As a sophomore, he had 133 tackles. He ended up with 433 tackles total, 212 solo, 34 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, 6 pass breakups, and 7 interceptions. All 7 of those picks came in his senior year. Obviously, what shot him up the boards. Te'o was a legit leader on the football field, and he was a QB nightmare. I mean, the fact that he could attack the backfield and the running back and be elite in coverage was crazy to see. I mean, he had 307 tackles total in the NFL. He did have that year in 2015 where he had 83, right? Total tackles. He had 4 tackles for loss and a pick for the Chargers. He lasted 8 years. He just never really popped. That was his best season. So that's why I say 50-50, hit or miss. Take it how you want it. But Manti Te'o at Notre Dame in those 3 seasons was an absolute he's a legend.
Yeah,
they went to a national championship, right? He was with Brady Quinn was there, right?
Yeah, yep.
Like, and it also led to like a 4 or 5 year span of the catfishing era. Like Catfish, the TV show, like me and my wife would watch that religiously because it was like watching a car accident. Like, I hope nobody gets hurt, but I can't take my eyes off.
Yeah. It was crazy. They just made that Netflix documentary about it, and like, it just stinks because I thought, like, if you just all that aside, take the whole personal stuff aside, on a football field, that guy had it.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly thought going to San Diego at the time in that scheme, oh my God, that was a good landing spot for him.
And he's from Hawaii, like
he was in his head. That's all it was. I mean, he was in his head.
Yeah, but he still managed to get 83 tackles that one year. So like, if he could have like been able to maybe get some mental help or what, I don't know.
Did he get got, or was he a part of it?
I think he had originally got and then just became a part of it because he didn't know how to not have the fame. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody on his team rallied around him with that, and then like, what do you do?
Dude, that was huge. Like, it was
right. You were on ESPN.
Yes.
CNN, like, you were on everything, and then what? Now you're just gonna say now it's not part of my life? Nah, he didn't know what else to do. He just rode that out till it crashed.
Yeah, he found out on the Heisman Trophy can, the award show.
He texted her, right? You got to text back something about like, well, whatever.
Yeah, him, her.
Yeah, whatever it was, but yeah.
He texted somebody on the other line.
Yeah.
Who wasn't Linnea Kukua?
Yeah. It was CeeDee Lamb's phone on the other side. Right?
Yeah, right. Man. Boomer, you got any more for us, man? We're cutting it close.
I'll give you one big miss for me, and it really wasn't a big miss. He just ended up not playing his whole time. Nasir Adderley, coming out of college, I really liked him in small town school.
Yes.
Didn't know exactly what he was going to be, but I had him in my rookie top 25 guys. A lot of people hadn't heard about him, and I said, man, him playing next to Derwin James is going to eat. Derwin gets hurt, he feasts. Then he gets injured, and then he gets injured, and he's still playing through injuries. And in 3 years, done. I'm going to retire. And after coming off a really good year, a really good year, and then decides to retire after 3 years, and it hurt me because I knew the type of talent that we were watching and the guy that could really be a good complementary to Derwin James. And we're just not going to get to see it because he retired early. And hey, to him, good job, on you. And when you know it's time to step away, it's time to step away. Man, it's tough to watch that. So that was a miss for me.
That year went off. He went off the year that James was out for a majority of the season. He was electric. Like, they tested him the first couple of weeks. They stopped testing him after that.
His tackle game was elite. It was really, really solid. So,
He reminded me of like Malik Hooker. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
like I saw a very similar, but his film was so hard to find.
Yeah.
Like he went to Delaware, right? Like he went to. So I remember like him and Kyle Duggar. Did they come out the same year?
I think it was one after the other.
Because I remember I
Yeah.
just kind of always lumped them together because they were both. I know Delaware is in a super small school, and Duggar went to Lenore Ryan, but they were
Yep.
just not. It wasn't film that was easy to find. But he was deep sideline to sideline ball hawk. Yeah, so it's tough to see him. So I'm gonna just rattle off two quick. One of them's a miss. Kelvin Hardman, wide receiver, North Carolina State. I'll say one of my biggest misses of all time, like, because this wasn't one that everybody was beating the drum on. Like, I went down this path. I watched them play, and I was like, I don't care. This is my guy. 12 games, 81 receptions, 1,100 yards, 14.6 yards per reception, 7 touchdowns, led the ACC in receiving yards. Here's my analysis after the 2018 season. Pro-ready body, ability to get behind defenders and deep routes, timing routes. I thought he was going to be a back shoulder demon. Like, I thought he was going to be like Devontae Adams. That's what I thought coming out. Good balance. Takes contact upon catch, keeps his feet, holds his own blocking, corners his size. Bryce Hall, who was a decent corner coming out that year, versus Harmon. Like I was high on Hall. I loved their matchup that year, and I said he was going to be a problem on fade routes in the red zone. He had a 4.6 40. It's not good, and he can't separate. And he is one of the main reasons I am very timid to fall in love with big guys who can't separate now. Like just because you got body control, just because you're tough and you're an alpha, like. I kind of stand back. I had him as my wide receiver 6 in 2019. I had a Hollywood Brown, Debo Samuel, and Terry McLaurin. Yeah. So I missed. But here is a big win for me. And I'm going to say, so Micah Parsons, me and Shane Hallam, I got receipts that go back after his sophomore year. Who's the best player in the nation? Micah Parsons. And you guys weren't around at T2T when Parsons was a rookie, but there's a guy, Mike Jernigan, shout out to MJ. When the Cowboys moved him to edge, there was a lot of people who didn't think he could play edge because there wasn't a lot of tape. I said, you didn't watch the Cotton Bowl. Like his last game in college, Micah Parsons' Cotton Bowl film was the best film I've seen of a defender, like in my years of scouting. Dude had 15 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 defensive player of the game, and he was absolutely everywhere. And MJ was saying, "Oh, the Cowboys, they're just being the Cowboys, and he's a good middle linebacker. Why are you going to put him at the edge?" And I was like, just watch. Let's see what happens. And now he comes in and he's playing edge and absolutely dominates. He's a freak. He is an absolute freak. And me and Shane, the back and forth was, I said, Micah Parsons to the Cowboys before the season. He said the Cowboys aren't going to be bad enough to pick him. And then Dak got hurt. And then some stuff came out about Micah Parsons. So we started moving down the board. He started moving up the board. And then somehow we met somewhere in the middle. So that's probably
even traded back and still got him.
Yes. Yeah. And the Giants could have had him. So how, yeah. So Nino, you got any more for us before we wrap this up?
I got one more. He is a brother of another gentleman who played in the NFL, and I love when brothers get to play football together. His brother does have a little handicap who did ball out for a few years. I'm gonna go with Shaquille Griffin, DB out of UCF. This is a winner chicken dinner for me. 6 foot, 194 pounds, just raw power and tenacity. Right, it was a 3rd round pick to the Seahawks, 90th overall. Kind of came in after Legion of Boom, but he carries that swag of the Legion of Boom, right? 4 years at UCF. He was a 2-year starter. 2015, okay, 43 tackles, 30 solo, 11 pass breakups, and a pick. The following year, 49 tackles, 30 solo, 15 pass breakups, 4 picks, 2 tackles for loss. That's 26 pass breakups in 2 seasons. That's just stupid numbers. This guy lived near the ball. Good luck trying to catch a ball on Shaq, all right? Shaq was an AAC QB nightmare and a freight train. And then in 4 years at Seattle, he was great. Legitimately great. He had 3 seasons of over 12 pass breakups. Went to Jacksonville. Last year he got hurt, only played in 4 games. But his first year at Jacksonville, when they were still trying to figure out an identity, what they were going to be, and they had a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving rookies on the defensive side, he still had 4 pass breakups in his first season there. So Shaquille Griffin, I loved him coming out of UCF. He was just flying around, knocking people apart. You weren't catching the ball if he was in your vicinity. And he continued that. Like I said, he really, for a guy in that defense, he really brought on he carried that Legion of Boom kind of swag where nobody else had it.
And him and his brother, UCF was different for like 2 years. You know,
Mhm.
they didn't really have the talent to be competing with top tier teams, but they were feisty.
Dude,
You
they
know,
were just freight trains.
and his brother was kind of he was the name. Like,
Yeah.
you know, Shaquille Griffin was
Because
kind
it
of
also
like,
helps. It was more, the talent was
but
in him.
he was sacking like he was
They
Yeah,
both ran a
yeah.
dancing off the
4.340.
edge. Like
So
he was getting to the quarterback. He was disruptive, and this guy, his brother, was kind of the forgotten man. And then he came into the NFL. So here I am, like I'm a dude.
I mean, you had 12 pass breakups, 15 pass breakups, 13 pass breakups. I mean, you're just living around the ball.
Right.
I only have one guy I just really want to bring it up because I've always planted my flag, and you already know I'm going to root. It's Max Crosby. I called it coming out. I said, listen, you might have drafted Cleveland Farrell. He's not your defensive end. I said, it's going to be Max Crosby. Everybody's like, who's Max Crosby? I said, dude, look at the tape. And turns out he's a dude, and I love it. So,
man, we could probably we could just go off like this. We're over 1 hour. So we could probably, just continue, go over guys because we are football nuts. But unfortunately, we got to wrap this thing up and maybe
squeeze in KT's last one.
Oh, yeah. You go ahead. Squeeze it in.
RG3 was a guy, right? 2012, being in DC, he said, when Robert Griffin III was drafted, it just gave his city so much hope when he was there, as a QB of the future. And he says he vividly remembered watching at least half dozen games of RG3, and his athleticism was off the charts. It was just more impressive with his ability just to throw the ball. Like, he had a howitzer.
Dude.
Like,
he literally was a track star turned pro, by the
yeah, and
with
had
a
a
cannon.
cannon of an arm. He just couldn't get out of his own way. Like, bro, your leg is ready to fall off. Don't play the game, dude. Like, if he would have not played that game, I think he would have had longevity in the NFL. That game, dude, he did the stanky leg after that, and he was never the same.
He should have never been allowed to play that game.
Agreed.
And they had another quarterback that they drafted.
Right, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins.
This is a young man who's a competitive young man.
Hungry.
You gotta protect him from himself. A good organization. It's a shame. I mean, for me as a Cowboys fan, I was glad it phased out because he scared the hell out of me.
He was nasty, man.
Dude, I mean, it's like Vic, but bigger.
Yeah.
Like he's bigger, like he wasn't as quick, but he had the long speed, and he had the cannon of an arm. And was Pierre Garçon there when and like they just were nasty together, like. Man,
Pierre Garçon was known for the long ball. And he was a small school guy, right? What Pierre Garçon, Division III, right?
I can't think of the top of my head, but him and RG3 were problems.
Yeah.
Man, so all right, well, that's it. So we got a bunch. Like I said, we could keep going, and maybe at some point we'll go back and we'll pick a more instead of a decade. We'll favorite players of the SEC or the ACC, whatever. We got time to talk about it. But everybody, we appreciate you checking this out. All right, we will be back here next week, same time. Check out Nino and Boomer on Head to Head every Tuesday night. I'll be on T2T. Make sure you subscribe to the CFB Nation. If you want to play fantasy football with us, get into Frankenstein because now the SFB is up and running. We've had a few mock drafts over the last few weeks. We had Ryan McDowell on the main show, but now we're going to get into Frankenstein mode. We're probably